Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart. 10 great underrated fragrances for men. I like to do one of these. It's kind of like a State of the Union, like once every 6 months or so, whether it's a hidden gem video, an underrated fragrance video. Things are changing all the time. The landscape is always moving. And in the last 3 months, I got a ton of new fragrances, so I've got some different choices. You wear fragrances more, certain ones, and then you're like, yeah, that's better than I thought it was, or vice versa. So yeah, this is updating you on that. Fragrance number 1, this is Costume National Amber Intense. And one of the advantages of having a fragrance channel is I talk to a lot of people on my channel and in other places too, but I saw two people that really hardcore fragrance enthusiasts, both talking lovingly about this fragrance. And I'm like, okay, you got my attention, because these guys have, one of them I know has 300 fragrances, so this guy knows his stuff. Yeah, so I wrote it down. A couple days later, I ordered it, and then I got it. And this one is really, really good. I see what they were talking about. It's got a hibiscus note in it. Obviously, it's an amber fragrance. It's amber intense, so there's a fair amount of that mildly sweet amber. But it's got a hibiscus note, and that could have scared me a little bit because, you know, when it comes to flowers, hibiscus is kind of a girly flower. It's like big and red or even pink. Anyway, I looked up the scent profile. Apparently, when it does have a scent, most of the time it doesn't. When it does, it's a very musky floral note. And man, can you pick it up in this. So ironically, this super feminine flower has kind of a masculine scent. You mix the hibiscus with the amber. The one thing about this one, though, the performance is good, but not great. When I say good, I'm talking, 4 or 5 hours. You can definitely notice it. As far as projection, you're going to get a foot and a half, so it's not a big projector. More than good enough for most people, I think. Just bear this one in mind. This is Guerlian Homme EDP. Eau de Parfum. And why is this on the list? This isn't underrated. This is like, everybody talks about this one. Everyone says how great this is. Well, in the last 2.5 months, I've gotten over 20 fragrances, and I purposely went to get some really nice niche ones. I went to get a lot of the hot designers, and this was one of them. And in terms of designer, this one is so much better than I was expected. And I got some really good ones. I mean, a Lamal Elixir. But this thing, for me anyway, is a masterpiece. Now, the weird thing about this is the original has kind of similar note breakdown. So there's a lot of leather. There is almond and vanilla, both of those. But this has a cherry note. And I think it tones down the vanilla. And I have talked about this one. But what I found was I like this so much. I got it 2 months ago. I just kept reaching for it. All the time. This is incredible. It's a little bit more subtle than this one. This one's really sweet. This one's more mildly sweet. I get really good performance. It is just that cherry note makes all the difference. It balances it out. This is a true masterpiece. I still think this is underrated, because if it wasn't underrated, then I would have bought it 4 years ago when I got into this. Because, I heard about it, but I didn't know it was as good as it turned out being. Lattafa Liam. I don't know if you guys are aware, but Lattafa's been on kind of a roll lately, with this, and with this, and with Assad Zanzibar, they're doing good things, I don't think anyone would argue. And yet they came out with this last year, and crickets, nothing. I don't hear anyone talking about it, and yet this is really good. Now, I think it could be the fact that Gris Charnel doesn't have the same popularity that something like Sauvage Elixir or Angel Share have. But damn, this is a really good clone. And this is cheaper than the other two. This is like $25 at the discounters. Very good performance. It's not entirely beast mode, but it's not meant to be, because Gris Charnel is a little bit more, it's an iris tea, more of a classy fragrance. There's some cardamom later on. It gets a little spicy. But damn, this is a really good clone, and yeah, this one, I don't understand why more people aren't talking about it. It does smell good. This is Club Nuit Intense Women. Don't blame me for it being a female fragrance. Blame this guy. because he talked glowingly about it, and then I got it. Now, it is an oud fragrance, and it is a very dark oud fragrance, though. It's a clone of Noir de Noir by Tom Ford. Now, that's a lot of noirs. So it is very, very dark. There's tons of patchouli in this and oud. And the reason it's marketed to women, although Noir de Noir is not, that's unisex. The reason this is marketed to women is because the rose is a little bit more prominent than the rose normally is for an oud fragrance. If you're hesitant, just think of the success of Club Nuit Intense Man. I mean, in terms of units sold, I mean, the Middle Eastern houses, they're not really good with their sales data, but in terms of units sold, this could very well be the #1 fragrance on earth in terms of units. So you can imagine that the female equivalent will be pretty good, and it really is. Now, the weird thing about this one, though, is most clones, you know, if you get a clone or an inexpensive fragrance, you have to spray them and let them sit for maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks kind of thing, and then they improve. This was at least a year and a half. Still the same from the day that I got it. And then for something, in the last 6 months or so, oh my God, I tried it, and it has turned so dark and deep and rich. And that funky opening that you normally get with Armaf fragrances, that is gone, and this is just an incredible fragrance. If you like oud or if you like dark fragrances, forget the women part. This one is really underrated. It's really inexpensive. Now, I'm telling you guys to buy a fragrance and let it sit for a year and a half. I know that's not realistic, but the end results are something special, let me tell you. 4 years ago, there's no way I would ever have had this on the list. This is Terre. This is original. Now, I researched the pricing for this and all of the flankers, and you can still get a bottle of Terre, 100 milliliters, full presentation for $70 US at the discounters. Now, all of the flankers are like way hotter. They sell way more. But you're going to pay at least $20 more for any of the flankers. And if you're talking about the parfum, it's $30 more. I still think this is a masterpiece. Now, it's not for everybody. I did not like this. It might have been 2 years I had this before I appreciated what it could do. But this can pretty much do everything that you want. It's got one of the nicest, classiest bottles out there. It's got beast mode performance for an EDT. It is incredibly versatile. It is super classy. It is that burnt orange, a little bit of grapefruit off the top, a citrusy vetiver fragrance. This is fantastic. And look, I know there are some really good flankers for this, but for the money right now, this is super underrated. If you're one of those people that has, you know, always reluctant to try Terre d'Hermès, do what I did. I took a chance. Everybody else seemed to really like it. I bought it. I hated it for 2 years. And now I think this is one of the best purchases I ever made. This is Cool Water. Now, it's summer. This is dirt cheap. This is one of the best summer fragrances of all time. It's basically a clone of Green Irish Tweed. And on paper, you cannot tell the difference. On skin, you can. But on paper, you can't. It's got really good performance. I don't really know what to say. In the summer, you know, spend $10. Okay, not $10, maybe a bit more. But, you know, buy a bottle of Green Irish Tweed. Smell really good. Let's get a lot of compliments. This is Jaipur. They're both kind of big 90s icon fragrances. This one is more for winter, though. This one is a lot of cinnamon, a lot of vanilla. Really nice bottle. I wish I didn't have a tester, but yeah, this one is really good too. Really good performance. Two really good old school fragrances that I do think young people, especially this one, would like this. But even this one too, I think young people would like it. Dirt cheap, really good, good performance, both of them. Underrated. Next up, we've got Montale Oud Pashmina. I've talked about this one a lot. This one is very similar, although definitely not a clone of Ombre Nomade. Ombre Nomade is like iconic. This is about a quarter of the price. It's still niche. It's Montale. It is really, really good performance. It's a dark, sweet oud. This is annoying me endlessly, as it always does, but very, very nice fragrance, underrated. I never hear anyone talk about Oud Pashmina. I have talked about it before. I will continue to say this is underrated. And now we have the two most underrated fragrances, I believe, on the market at the moment. This is Une Histoire d'Homme Irresistible by the house of Mauboussin. And this is like dirt cheap. Really good in every way performance. This has got a fig leaf note that goes with a lot of woods. It's got a powdery element. It's different. It's weird. I got a compliment wearing this the other day. This is one you do need to let sit, though. I let this sit for a month, and it was way better. But, yeah, my God, it's great. And this one, Alpha. This is a clone of Ebene Fumé. This is not a clone that needs to sit. It was fantastic right out of the box, $34. And it's from Fragrance World. It is a smoky, woody, it's got some gaiac wood, it's got some incense, it's got a really cool bottle, and probably the nicest cap engineering in my whole collection. This is the kind of cap that I would expect from like a niche house. Great performance. The only problem with this one is you need to like Ebene Fumé, right? It's a great clone, but if you're not a big fan of like something that is very woody and smoky, then yeah, maybe not. But for $34 and for the quality of this one's great. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Take care.